one other funny story I have to tell on her. She's extraordinarily OCD about things. And like she was like, "Are you going to get here in time to help me make cake pops?" And I'm like, ugh, like, I mean, of all the things in the world that sound like no fun, making cake pops. I'm like, sure.
Yes, I don't like to make them either.
Oh yeah, and that's what you do, right? Like you do catering and stuff. So she's
I
like,
do cakes, but not cake pops.
Yeah.
Unless I absolutely have to, and then I charge a lot.
Yes. She'd already rolled them out, but they hadn't been dipped or decorated. And my husband and her husband both walked in. I'm sorry, I have to tell this, but both walked in and they're like, "Ooh, cake pops. Can we have one?" And she's like, "No." So I'm thinking she's only got a limited amount. And she's like, "No, there are 150. And I'm like, "What in the world?" And she said, and basically what it came down to was there are 150 of these that we were going to decorate. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And I'm thinking, why can't they have one? I mean, that sounds like we're going to have at least 100 extra, you know? And she's like, "No, because when I go to display them out, if there's 149, it's because she's obsessive compulsive." And I'm like, that is a dumb reason. That you realize that's a dumb reason to not let them have one, right? Next thing I know, we have dipped probably 20 of them. She puts the rest of them in a Ziploc bag. She's not the rest of them, the rest of what was sitting out. So she puts like 8 in a Ziploc bag. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" And she goes, "I'm going to try to pour the coating into the bag." And she's doing it. She's pouring the coating into a bag. She's going to shake it. She thinks it's going to work like you're doing catfish fillets or something. You know what I'm saying? Like going to shake and I'm like, that is not going to work. She's like, "I think there's got to be a trick to this. It can't be this hard. There has to be a trick to this." And she's like, she starts shaking it. And I go, "Dear Jesus, please don't let them all stick together." And she goes, "They all stuck together." And she reaches in with her spoon and starts trying to get one out. And then she looks at it and she's messed it all up. And she takes it and goes, sticks it in her mouth. I said, 149. And she goes, "Oh, what am I doing?" She's all messed up. She messed it all up. And then I just sat there and laughed and laughed and laughed. And she's like, "Go ahead and say it. What is it that you want to say?" I said, "No, the things I have, I want to say to a big crowd of people." Like, I'm saving my material. And like, even I already told the party twice. And now I'm telling it to y'all. Okay, now we're going to jump on, okay?
Oh, gosh, that's funny.
So I looked at my questions I put on my team page today. What are future topics that you guys would like to talk about? Because it does interest me. I'd like to know what's on your minds, things you would like to hear on the Zoom call. So I picked a few for tonight's call. And the reason I picked the topics that I saw were ones that it wouldn't take an entire call to cover. So I picked a few so that we can have a call's worth. And these kind of all go together. So one of the things that people get caught up with in Plexus is objections to Plexus, okay? And so I asked the girl who asked that question, give me some specifics, and she was talking about objections to the price. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of different ways to go about this that I feel I'm going to say it like this. I think that there are ways to go about price objections that sound very salesy. But then I think that there are other ways to go about price objections that don't sound salesy and seem to work better for Plexus for some reason. Like if you were to go take a training course, a generic training course on how to sell, you're probably going to get different information than what I'm about to give you here. But this is what I've found that works. First of all, when someone just asks me a general question, like, what does it cost? If they are responding to a specific post about a specific product, then and only then am I going to go into breaking down the difference between wholesale and retail and all that stuff. But if they're just saying a kind of a generic question, what does Plexus cost? And I don't know, if I don't know enough information about them, it's my job. This is the way I look at it. My job is to get information out of them because I cannot answer the question how much something costs if I don't know what they need. Seriously, okay? So it's not avoidance. I had somebody tell me one time, said, "Oh, you're doing an avoidance method, like you don't answer the question." And I'm like, no. Like, seriously, if you could answer for me right now, knowing nothing about my health history and nothing about why I'm asking. If you can tell me how much it costs, then you are earned a gold sticker because you don't know what they're asking you, right? Does everybody understand what I'm saying? So your job is to say something along the lines of, well, it really depends on, what you're looking for. What are your goals here? That way I can customize a product regimen for you that doesn't have anything in it you don't need. See, it always makes me think of like cough medicine. That's like, every time I'm talking about this, I always think of that. The sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever, so you can rest it. Okay, well, what if it's just sniffling? You see what I'm saying? Like, when it comes down to plexus, maybe they don't need all the extra stuff, but you never know what they do and don't need unless you ask them some questions. So I always keep this in the back of my head when I'm talking to someone, that there is a high likelihood that there are, with anybody, there are health concerns going on that they don't think of as health concerns because they've accepted these things as part of life. Now, the things I'm talking about, am I breaking up? Can y'all hear me? I'm okay. Okay. I am breaking up, or okay, good. I asked 2 questions, a yes and a no. I'm sorry about that. Okay. So, okay, when I'm thinking about talking to people about this, it's very important that I'm keeping all of these things in mind, and especially thinking about the fact that most people have allergies of some sort, and they don't think that there's anything out there to help them, so they're not going to tell you that. I used to have itchy feet, and I would have never, if somebody said, do you have any health issues? I'd have said, if feet itching was my only problem, I probably wouldn't have said it. I would have just thought, oh, that's just something I take a lotion for, or a lotion or a potion. It wouldn't have been anything I would have thought about. So in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, would they like to sleep better? Would they like their allergies to go away? Would they like better energy? Do they have any kind of like rough skin? The kind of things that they have put in the back of their mind as just part of aging. Indigestion, men. See, I really work this business from a perspective of men and women because my husband works the business too. And even if he didn't, but it just really brings a new element into it, the fact that my husband works the business too, because men are liable to tell him things that they might not tell me. So, a lot of men don't think of the fact that they have indigestion and all this stuff. They don't think that might be something, especially if they associate plexus with weight loss. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Most people associate plexus with weight loss only. And maybe they don't associate it with great results for weight loss. You know what I'm saying? They may be like, I don't know. I mean, like, maybe I don't really need to lose weight, whatever, or maybe they don't think it'll last long, whatever it is. The fact that we're giving them an idea of the fact that it could help more things and that it could be longer lasting results than what most people think of. So that's the first point that I want to make about how much it costs. Now, I want to read something to you that I wrote earlier today. I'm one of those people I've always needed to justify the money I spend. I need to justify it in my head. And sometimes I justify it like this. How do you think I justify these? These rented lashes? There is no justification for these other than I like them enough that I just am going to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is one of the few things in my life that it's like, yeah, I'll figure out a way to justify it in my head. The rest of the things in my life, and most of you, if you have beautiful fingernails or beautiful toenails, same thing. Maybe if you wax or tan, or maybe you highlight your hair frequently or whatever it is, we all have something, maybe not everyone, but most people have something that you just go, hey, I like it, so I'm going to do it. But let's look past that, the 1 or 2 things you might have, and let's look at the things that you need to justify in your mind. Like, you're like, I'm a good mom, I'm thrifty, I spend most of my money on my kids, that whatever it is that plagues most mothers in their mind. Okay, for our products, in almost every case that I have ever encountered, people don't spend more money on plexus than what plexus saves them. Now, if you don't know that that's true, and if it's not the case for you, then we need to think about it some more, because if you're like, wait a minute. So in other words, if you were buying soda pop or something like that, or if prescription medicines were costing out the wazoo, or if you were buying lotions and potions for everything from your itchy feet all the way up to your scalp, if you had stuff that you no longer use and that balances out, then it's justified. And in most cases, it's justified so well because Plexus is working better for most people than the stuff that they were using before. If it's not, they wouldn't keep taking it. Like, I've tried things before that, might have cost less, but Plexus works so much better. Hang on. Sorry, my computer came unplugged. And for me, I was already embarrassingly, I hadn't added it up in my head. You know how you do that to yourself if there's something you spend money on a daily and it's like, soda pop or something like that, and you're embarrassed and you don't want to admit it to yourself. But I was spending more money at the Sonic than I spend on Plexus products, especially more than what I was spending on the Triplex. Let's keep it like that, because now I get Joyome and some of the other products. But just for the Triplex alone, I was already going to the Sonic every day and getting a Route 44 and sometimes getting a car full of Route 44 sodas. And if you don't think that your friends and neighbors that are wanting to buy Plexus do that, the majority of them do. I'm just telling you, if the people that you're prospecting don't do that, for now you might want to prospect some different people. When it comes down to cost, how much Plexus costs and cost objections about it, I always just tell people, well, here's the thing. What it's going to cost for you is really going to depend on what products you need. For me, I was able to get rid of all of my allergies. My stomach quit hurting. Like, my stomach was hurting every day and it quit hurting. My depression went away. I feel like a totally different person from the inside out. My marriage got better and everything. And I was spending more money drinking soda pop every day than what I spend on Plexus products. And I don't want to drink soda pop anymore. It makes me Plexus helped me break that addiction cycle. So if I could figure out a way to help you make it make sense in your mind. And that's the question I ask. If I can help it make sense to you in your mind, we can figure out if there are enough things that Plexus is going to help you with, that it would justify you spending this money. Do you want to talk to me further about it? Let's look into it further. Does that sound good to you? Most people will open up to you then and start telling you, well, I mean, if it could help, are you saying that, like, my nails are super brittle, my hair doesn't seem to want to grow? And they'll start telling you things. You can say, yeah. And you say, how do you struggle with energy? How do you sleep? Do you have allergies? These are the types of questions that I ask people, because I know in the bottom of my heart that the Triplex is going to fix 90% of what's wrong with most people. 90% of 90%. It's not going to fix everybody's everything, but it fixes about 90% of what's wrong with about 90% of people, because what's wrong with most people is leaky gut. And Plexus addresses that. So I'm hoping I'm hitting it on enough here about objections. With Joyome, if it's someone that's already on a skincare regimen, we're replacing 6 other products for lots of other people. Like, if they're using stuff for under eye puffiness, circles, they're using a cleanser, a toner, you're not replacing a cleanser, but if they're using a toner, a mask, a moisturizer, most people that use some sort of skincare regimen are using about, even if it's not in their, like, by their sink, they may have something that's by their nightstand or something that's in their purse that this is going to replace. Now, I'm not going to go on any further on that until I ask you, do you believe me that that's true? Okay, if you are not one of those people, it may be hard for you to believe that that's true, and you may not have confessed it to yourself, because you may be like, I hadn't thought about the under eye corrector. I hadn't thought about the dark circle thing. I hadn't thought about concealer. I hadn't thought about foundation, really expensive foundation that people have been using. The things that it justifies the price of it very quickly when you add up all the things that you're doing to cover up the mess of your skin, the mess that you have on your face, right? Okay. So I don't have any problem. The reason I'm speaking to you guys like this is because most people on my team have the personality similar to a yellow personality, which means you like to help people. You're probably not real aggressive. You probably selling things might be outside your comfort zone. Well, that means that you have to justify in your mind that what you're selling people is a good deal, right? You have to feel okay with it in your heart. You're not going to go out and sell Ferraris to people. Like, that's never going to be in your wheelhouse. Okay? You have to look at it and go, okay, I can help this person justify this. I don't have any problems because my skin looks entirely different now. Like, I look at my skin now in the mirror and I'm thinking, this is insane. This is truly insane to look. I can't believe how much different. And also, like, now I'm just using like a bronzer type stuff. I'm not having to use my foundation anymore most of the time. I'm using a cleanser. And I hardly use a sunscreen, and that's just because I have these beliefs about sunscreen. But I keep my face blocked. I'm safe with my skin is what I'm trying to say. But I really, literally, the only thing I'm still using for the most part is a cleanser. And sometimes I use body cream if like a rough patch comes up on my skin, or if I want to, sometimes I put that on before I put my bronzer on. I put like some body cream on my face. So, okay, moving on. I do have to make an announcement. Tonight's the deadline for those who want to be in the Kickstart Challenge. If you had people who want to be in the Kickstart Challenge, it actually starts, I think, July 2nd, the 14-day summer kickoff for your where we're going to be talking about healthy eating habits and that kind of thing. It's going to be kind of like we've done in the past when we've done the like belly busters, similar to that, but a little different. Tonight's the deadline to get those orders in. Really, the reason it's the deadline is because if we're going to start early in July, we need the orders placed now so people can have their products. Okay. Okay, another question. This is a big one. When people say that they want the Joyome, or maybe they say they want to try the hunger control, and they say it and they don't do it. Do you have that happen often? They don't go ahead and order. And you say something to them and they may not respond. I'm going to tell you, I adopted the habit a few years ago, literally, probably 4 years ago, to assume the best in every situation. If somebody doesn't respond to me, I assume that probably what happened to them is the same thing that happens to me frequently. I might have checked my phone at the grocery store. I might have checked my phone at the stoplight. For whatever reason, I can't do anything about it at that moment and then forgot. Like, especially if it's like wanting me to order something and then you forget, like you can't do it right then. So I always will come back and say something like, hey, here are the ideas I came up with today if you're struggling with this. If they said they wanted to order, you can always send them the steps of how to order. Let's say you've already messaged back and forth with them like, yeah, I'm ready to order. And then they don't, and a couple days pass, you can always come back in and say, hey, I'm so sorry, I forgot to send you these steps. That way the assumption is not that they didn't order because they didn't want to. Does everybody understand? Here are the steps of how to order. Or you could always also explain, hey, I forgot to tell you that that's a 2-month supply. I can't remember if I told you. That's a 2-month supply. And it will replace everything except for your cleanser. I don't know if you use an under eye concealer, something for puffy eyes and dark circles, something for this, something for that. Whatever it is that you think that they might use, you can say this will replace all those things. It's a really great deal when you look at the fact that it lasts 2 months. At least it's a conversation starter. Okay. The other thing is you could tag them in a post of before and afters. If you see somebody else posting some really great before and afters and people are adding their own before and afters to it, you could tag them in a post and say, hey, Sarah, I wanted you to see this. Look at this. Remember, this is that product we were talking about the other night. I like to say more than just their name because I think that's kind of rude in the situation like this. where rather than, hey, Sarah, just Sarah. But you can say, Sarah, this is the product we were talking about the other night. Okay. I'm talking, it's not rude to tag people and stuff just with just their name, but in a situation where you want to strike up a conversation, make it warm and inviting. If it's really a person who you think they're like so scatterbrained, which is lots of times the case, offer to get them on FaceTime. Say, hey, when you get home from work tonight, what time will you get home? And they'll say, I don't know, 6:30. You say, okay, how about 6:45? Can I set a timer in my phone and I'll get you on FaceTime and walk you through the steps so that we can get this stuff ordered for you? I'll walk you through it. Let's get you on FaceTime and I'll walk you through it. Would that make you more comfortable? Yes, thank you. That would help me remember. Okay. Can I get you on a Zoom? Whatever it is that you think they'd be comfortable with, get you on the phone, whatever it is so that you can walk them through the steps. If you're one of those people that hates to be on the phone and hates to walk people through things, it is a one-time thing to have a customer. You understand? Like, get them as a preferred customer. It's a one-time thing, and after it's over with, you're always like, I'm glad that's over with, and I'm glad it's done, and now I've got a new customer. Or maybe you're helping them join. Lots of times it's easy to upsell people when you have them on the phone because they're like, what's this other stuff? I don't know what this is. If they're just asking you about Joy Home and they're looking at something else, you know? Okay. This next thing, I could do every Zoom call on this next thing, and it's not a topic that I could preach it or I can make it 3 minutes. But I think it's the one thing that makes or breaks whether people succeed in this business. And, but somebody asked a question and I thought I'm going to go into that. I think most people look at this business as a hope and a wish and a dream. I hope it'll take off. I wish it would take off. But they don't work intentionally. They don't work it like, I don't mean work it hard, but I'm saying they don't have any set plan of action. And if you have in your mind somehow that you can own a business and be successful at it, and you don't have any type of plan of attack or action, then it's probably considered delusional for you to think that way. You have to have some sort of plan, even if you're super yellow and super inside your comfort zone and super all of these things that keep you like, you know, introverted, shy, quiet, all these things. You can still have a plan of action that you work every day that will bring long-term results to the goals that you have in your mind. Most people who have been on my team for a while, who finally get up the nerve to reach out and message me and say something like, it's not working, I'm not ranking up, this, that, or the other. All I have to do is ask them one question, and that's the end of the conversation. I say, okay, what's your daily regimen of what you do? Like your daily method of operation, basically. What do you do on your Plexus business? Like, do you have something that you do specifically in the morning? And they're like, well, and all they have to do is say, well, and I already know. They're not taking it seriously. They're wishing and thinking and hoping. And they're occasionally, but it's not disciplined action. And I don't like the word discipline. I've got a little bit of a rebellious nature. I don't like the word discipline. But if I know that I can take this business and make something out of it for my family, if I just add a little drop of discipline in there, that's been everything for me. And like right now, I don't have to be disciplined. Like I was disciplined for a few months in the beginning, and I was like hardcore disciplined. And now I don't have to be. Like if you were to watch my regimen now, you'd be laughing at it. You'd be like, that is not disciplined. But that's the luxury I have now because I did get disciplined for a while, even though it went against my nature, even though I wanted to kick and scream at discipline. The fact is, working intentionally, not scrolling Facebook mindlessly, is the answer to how you make this business work. Setting up a day in and day out routine that works with you. Like I could tell you, wake up at 8 and do this. But if that doesn't fit your lifestyle, that's not going to fit your lifestyle. So for you, it may be totally different. It may be something you do at noon. It may be something you do at night before you go to bed. But the fact is, it needs to be day in. It needs to be day out. You need to be edifying people on a regular basis. That means building relationships with your colder market, like warming up your colder market all the time. You need to be following up with customers, intentionally following up with customers, asking them how they're liking it. Do they have anybody they think would be interested in it? That way you can upgrade your customers into ambassadors. You need to be sending out new messages and following up with old people, people who've been around. And you'd be sending out new messages on the regular, so you always have fresh conversations going. If you don't have fresh conversations going all the time, that's what's wrong with your business. If you don't have fresh conversations going on all the time, that's what's wrong with your business. If you don't have fresh conversations going on all the time, I keep fresh conversations going on all the time. That's why my business keeps going steady, steady, steady. I'm always, if I was able to, I would still be adding new friends. I can't because I've reached my friend limit, but you can imagine how I got to reaching my friend limit. Always, always adding new friends, always meeting new people, always loving on people. It's just something I do. I'm very relationship driven. And if you feel guilty for, sending, if you feel guilty for, what am I trying to say? Selling things to your friends, then you will probably always be in the boat that you're in right now. I'm just saying. I don't. Like I did in the beginning, I felt guilty. I can remember thinking all kinds of things about what are people going to think about me? I got over it really fast when I saw people get well that have struggled for a long time. Another thing that helped me get over it real fast was bringing my husband home from a job that, that wasn't the very best for our family's dynamic at the time. And everything in this world and everything in this life is selling. I mean, everywhere you look around you, everything around you has been either sold to you or is selling you something. And the fact is, we have one of those things that it's like, I'm super proud to sell what I sell. I couldn't be involved with anything that would make me more proud, to be honest with you. And you either will get over that or you'll stay where you are. Getting over selling something, and you don't have to be salesy. You don't have to be slimy, but being willing to talk about it is everything. Being willing to tell people about it is everything. I feel like I want to touch on something else. The plexus shield of confidence is something I learned from another Jewel a few years ago. You can actually Google that on YouTube. You can search it. Videos that go into depth about this, but the plexus shield of confidence basically works like this. When somebody asks you a question about plexus and you don't know how to answer it, or you don't know the exact answer for whatever their particular dilemma is, or if they ask you about an ingredient and you're like, I don't know, like in your mind you're thinking, I don't know. Well, here's the plexus shield of confidence. Now, what it looks like a crest, like a family crest, like a logo symbol. And it's like, it has like out beside it, like 4 points, talking points when you're talking to people. So that's why it's called the shield of confidence. It works like this. The talking points are like this. If somebody says something about an ingredient, they ask you a question you don't know the answer to, you can say, honestly, I don't know the answer to that. I just know that my mom took this particular one for her inflammation, and it helped her so much. She was basically bedridden, and within a matter of 2 months, she was ready to live her life again. We haven't seen her that way in 5 years. Also, my neighbor, okay, I'm going to tell 2 stories that are that short. Tell 2 stories that I know that relate to what they've asked me. Like, is there an ingredient in there that would harm such and such? Is it okay for pregnant women or something? You're like, I don't know. And you tell 2 stories. You tell the money back guarantee. And that's the shield of confidence. You say, and here's really what it comes down to. This is pretty simple business because we have a money back guarantee. So that's what makes it easy for me to talk about it, tell you what I know. And then you can try it risk-free. Is it something you'd even consider? Can I send you more information about it? Or if you run into someone, usually this happens like when you run into someone somewhere and you say, can I send you some more information about it? And I even always remember the Plexus Shield of Confidence when I'm sending out samples to people. I'll say stuff like if I'm going to send out a hunger control sample, I'll say something like, I've lost a pant size. My sister has lost 20 pounds, whatever the truth is, tell 2 stories. There's a money back guarantee. I'd love to help you get started on this. Let me know what you think when you drink your first sample or something like that. I always have that shield of confidence in the back of my mind because the fact is there aren't many products out there that give you a money back guarantee, a 60-day money back guarantee, and you can send in an empty bag and get your money back. That's pretty impressive. And I don't think it's utilized enough. I think people don't talk about it enough. So that people seem to struggle with how to close. Closing for me is not salesy. I don't have to be salesy to close. I'm not afraid to ask them, you ready to get started? That's really what it comes down to. I say, here's a story, money back guarantee. You ready to get started? Here's a story, money back guarantee. I'm going to send you my link. Let's get you started. If you make it more complicated than that, even if you want to know more about, because some of the questions in my team page were like, I'd like to know more about all the ingredients. I'd like to know information that's not conflicting about this and this. Where is the best resource for this and this? And the truth is, all of that is relevant. It's good. Those are good questions to want to know the answer to. Most of it can be found in your back office, in the shareables, and in Sonny and Share, and in Rank Up Roadmap, and most of that information you can find in those places. But the truth is, the simpler that you keep this business, the more enticing it is to people. Because if people think, God, I'm going to have to own an encyclopedia that has Plexus information in it. If you have an encyclopedia, a wealth of knowledge inside your head and you spew it out on people, people are not interested in another job. People don't want to go to a college class to learn about your Plexus products. They're like, I may be willing to try them, but I don't want to work the business because I would never remember all that stuff you just told me. You understand what I'm saying? If you're making it very complicated, it's okay for you to know it for yourself, but trying to talk to people about it, to me, in my opinion, is too much for most people. One other thing that's not utilized nearly enough, in my opinion, is, and I will share this with you guys again. We'll bump it up on the pages, but the link to where I keep all the times I've ever asked people for their testimonies. I have one place that you can go, and you can go alphabetically. We put them all alphabetical. All the different types of disorders from A to Z. And you can go back and click, and like, for example, if you're looking for asthma, you can click the link there'll be like 3 or 4 times that Lori has asked for people to tell their asthma stories. Now, I had to word it in a way that I could get away with it. And most of these are not set to where, like, I don't want people commenting on these posts anymore, because it bumps them back to the news feed and could cause me to have to take them down. And it's a very helpful resource to have these. So rather than comment and tag someone, you click the share, copy the link, and send it in a private message to the person. Say, hey, I wanted you to read through these stories, because it's very impressive to people from what I've seen. It's more impressive to read lots of people telling their story rather than to read a website. And so, like, since I have a resource that's this powerful, it has, like, maybe the last, when I've asked, something about rheumatoid arthritis or something, you can go on Facebook. These posts are now set to where well, basically, I think I have them set to where I'm not going to get in major trouble or make them get pulled down unless they get bumped back up through the news feed. Okay, everybody understand what I'm saying? Compliance wise, I don't. So I don't want people commenting on them. I don't want you tagging people in the post. But I will share the link that takes you, basically the link that I will share goes to a note on my page. You know what I'm talking about? Where it's like a blog post, a note. And in the note, I have shared every single link of every time I've ever asked for a testimony, and I alphabetized them. It took me for flipping ever. And I'm pretty sure people are not using that as much as they were, and it's a very helpful resource. Okay. If I were to take and highlight one thing I said tonight, be like, because sometimes I give you guys information overload. Setting yourself up a disciplined plan of action that is something that you will follow through with every single day, in my opinion, is the answer to all of your business woes. All the things that make your business not work right go away when there is consistency in your plan of action. And I hardly ever encounter someone that comes to me and can show me a consistent plan. Hang on. Oh, that's what I need to do. Thank you. Yeah. That's a good idea. I hardly ever find, I'll have to do it for like 300 posts, but I'll go do it someday. I don't know how many there are, but there are a lot because it was over 7 years worth, right? Anyway, so, okay, someone asked about any progress with that. I know at convention they mentioned that they mentioned from the big stage that they have plans. So it wasn't like in a private meeting, and I haven't heard anything more about that, but I feel confident that's around the corner. And I know that would be huge for a lot of us who built our business that way in the first place, or who were enticed by the business because someone had built their business that way. So I'm just believing, and I'm keeping it held up in prayer. So I would love it if you guys would keep it held up in prayer as well. I'm reading back through the consistent. That's what I was going to say. Consistent plan of action is rarely something that someone has going on that tells me that their business, if they're like, I'm stuck in my business. And I used to say that it was easy for me to tell someone what was wrong with their business. I could go diagnose them by looking at their Facebook page, which I can usually. I can look at your Facebook page, and in 5 minutes, most people I can say, here's what's wrong. You're too salesy. Or here's what's wrong. You never talk about Plexus. Or here's what's wrong. The way that you post is causing your algorithm to mess up. But the other way that I diagnose what's wrong with someone's business is I can ask them about their plan of action. And the plan of action is usually, and they don't want to tell me because there's not one. And it doesn't seem to matter how many times I talk about it on a Zoom call or how many times I give good ideas. It's almost like do you remember when we did vision boards? And it's almost like this coming Saturday, that kind of deal. We're going to spend, I was going to DJ the whole vision board thing, and I kind of did. And then it was like, I felt God telling me stay on there until everyone's done. And it was 6 hours, right? The first 2 hours were like everybody. And then I just hung in there because I felt like some of you, your heartstrings were tied to that day. Some of you, that was your new kite that you were going to fly. And it's been working. Some of you have told me, you're like, this has manifested some of my dreams. Okay. I almost feel like, and I'm giving birth to something right this second. I hope y'all are witnessing what I'm about to say. It's almost like we need to have a Zoom like that again, where everybody, it won't take that long, but where everyone could come up with a plan of action that fits them. Because I say it and it sounds like I spewed a bunch of stuff on the wall and you don't know which pieces to pick. Because I give you so many different ideas. And it's like, which of those do I pick? And then you get all messed up in your mind. You're like, oh, I'll think about that tomorrow. And then if tomorrow never comes, then your business never works. And some of you I think might really benefit if we did I need to come up with exactly what that would look like, because vision board Zoom seemed like that's very non-tangible. How are we going to do that? But it worked. So maybe I can come up with a plan of action type Zoom where literally we can all dedicate one weekend morning to where I'm going to sit down, kind of like they do those power hours. Corporate does the power hours where there's not a lot of talking, but they put up some, on a board, they say for the next 15 minutes, just focus on this. And then the next 15 minutes, we're going to only focus on this. So it won't be, because the problem is me talking to you or talking at you does not make you sit down and do any of the things. But making a plan of action and not just planning it, but actually making your mind up that you're going to follow up with it and follow through, I believe it might be a really good thing for so many of you, because I think a lot of you are out there going, I don't have a plan of action. Like I throw some mud against the wall and pray. And the truth is consistency is where you're missing the consistency element. You guys agreeing with me on this kind of, maybe not the Zoom, but just the concept in general? I don't know how the Zoom's going to look if we do it, but anyway, I think that making it a priority in your mind probably is taking up more of your brain space than if you act like thinking, oh, what if I could just, why can't I? It takes up more of your brain space than if you were just doing something that took you 15 minutes every day. Like, I know that's true for some of you because I've had the conversations with you. You're like, I don't do anything consistently. I think consistency is like your rebellion kicks in and says, I just like to do things like an artist. I'm describing myself. I just like to be kind of like an artist and free as a bird. And I'm like, it's a starving artist for a reason. I mean, there's a word for it. And people who do things like that are not business builders usually. And you can do both, but you got to do the discipline thing first. And then you can do the artist thing and not have to be starving. I'm living proof of that. I can get to be the mermaid girl in her swimming pool all day long on any given day. And like, I walked in from this birthday party, like I never walk away from a birthday party, but tonight it was on a Wednesday night, which is super weird. No offense, but super weird. I told her, I was like, this is super weird having a birthday party on a Wednesday night. But here's the thing. I walk away from the birthday party and I come in and like 30 minutes before the call, and I'm sitting there taking notes, and one of the ladies walks in and she's like, what are you doing? I said, it's kind of like my planning period. I was like, I don't have a real job. She knows what I do, kind of like. So I don't have a real job, but every now and then I have to put 30 minutes of concerted effort into something because I'm going to speak to these guys about something, and I don't want to be wasting their time. And I can do that and live the rest of my life on a day-to-day basis, acting like an artist, posting if it fits me, talking about plexus if I want to. I can go live if my makeup is on. But the reason I can do that is because I went through a season of consistency. I put my rebellion on the back burner, and I said, you know what? I want that so bad. There's something I want bad enough. And it was to be financially free enough that I could have X, Y, Z, these things. That I'd be like, well, I'm going to put my rebellion on the back burner for now. And I'm going to put my, my need to be free. Well, true freedom came on the other side of the consistency. So I don't know if I'm really speaking to some of you. I feel like I probably am speaking to some of you. You're getting what I'm saying here. Let me see here. Okay. So I'm going to tell you what. I don't want you waiting on me to do a Zoom for this. This would be like the death of things for you to wait on me to do a Zoom about this, because I need to put some thought into it. But it would be very helpful if you put some thought into it yourself. Have you ever heard the concept that if you really want to learn something, it's the best way to learn something is to teach it? Well, pretend like you're going to have to turn in your best ideas to me and watch what will happen. Your ideal week is liable to unfold. Let's say if you were to pretend tonight that tomorrow you had to make a lesson plan that was going to be like for the rest of your life, your week, day in, day out week was going to look like, what you wrote down tomorrow? Could you force yourself to sit down and put down something that I can live with this? I know it, I can live with it, and I know it will be fruitful. I could live with it because it's not too time consuming. It's not causing me to have my phone in my face all the time. I can eat dinner with my husband without checking my phone. So you can live with it. And 2, it's income producing activity. It's like not scrolling Facebook, not watching like, what are those? I always want to call it stink bait, but it's actually bait, clickbait, clickbait, not watching clickbait videos and those articles where you have to click next, and it's showing what celebrity has aged the most. That is the biggest time suck in the universe. But here's the thing. If you can get rid of all of that and put concerted effort, because do you ever do that and you also think about your business at the same time? But that's not doing anything really, right? Like you might be scrolling Facebook, whatever. Occasionally I'll catch something on Facebook because I'm scrolling because somebody will start complaining about a health issue. But mostly scrolling Facebook without being intentional. Like if I'm scrolling Facebook and I'm interacting with people and intentionally basically working on friendships and relationships, that's one thing. But if I'm just scrolling Facebook mind numbing, that's doing nothing for anyone. In fact, it's opposite. So, okay, I'm going to pray over us really quick. I'm going to put some thought into that. I'd like for you guys over the next 2 days, if you can, to put some thought into if somebody forced you, if your boss forced you to make a lesson plan that you can live with and would be fruitful. What would the bullet points look like? I just got a funny private message from somebody. One of the funnier ones I've ever seen. That's pretty good. Okay. I'd share it with you, but it's an inside joke from Breakthrough Training. And the joke's on me too. So here we go. Okay. It's about calling something stink bait. Those of you who have taken my Breakthrough Training, you know what they're talking about. Yes. Okay. All right. All right. So God, tonight I just want to ask you to invade our thought processes with new creative ideas. I'm going to be very specific in my prayer tonight because I just feel like some of us need this very specifically. God, that you would come in and just, it's like I see it like a creative egg and it needs to hatch. And God, I just need you to be the one who comes in there and like gives us this notion of something that's really creative, new ideas for our businesses. New ideas of how to implement the things that work. We know what works. God, I want to partner with heaven in every area of my business, in relationships with people. I want to be partnering with heaven. I want to see things that, God, if it's something that you would acknowledge and you would say, yes, that person needs you. That person needs your time. That person needs your relationship. And God, that's where I want you to use me, just like point me like an arrow. In relationships, and God, in other areas of my business, in financial breakthrough, God, I just break off any bondage off of anybody on this call who feels like you have been in financial bondage. Right now, I'm asking God to supernaturally break that off of you. If it's generational, if there's some sort of stronghold, even if there's some sort of atmosphere in your home, in your relationships with your family that cause you to be in bondage, right now I'm just asking the Holy Spirit to break that off of you in the name of Jesus. God, I believe for prosperity for every single person on this call. I believe in true freedom, not the kind of freedom that you look at people and think, wow, they've got a lot of money. Money is not freedom unless money is freedom. I don't know if I can really explain that to you, but like Money can be bondage too. I'm asking for true freedom for you, where it's like not only do you get the financial blessing, but God gives you great ideas of what to do with the money, how to invest the money, where to spend the money, whether to save the money, all of these things that God would give you new plans and hatch new ideas inside of you. That God would give you new plans and ideas for your team, creative things that that it's like, God has an insight into your team and who they are, what kind of atmosphere they would flourish the best under. That I just pray that God would come in and give you creative ideas that you can implement that they don't have to feel super structured or super strict, but just knowing that as you walk these things out, that these creative ideas and that this partnering with heaven, these strategies would be fruitful and be worth your time in the long run. They'd be worth your time for longevity in this business. And you know what? Just for every endeavor, not just Plexus businesses, but everything that you put your hand to. I just break the spirit of rebellion off of any of you. If you feel like you're like, I kind of walk in rebellion, I don't mean to, but that can be a spirit. And I just break the spirit of rebellion off of you. And I'm just asking God that for everything that I break off of you tonight, everything that the Lord breaks off of you, like I'm saying it, the Lord is doing it, everything that's broken off of you tonight, that he would replace that with something that is a trait of his, with joy, with discernment. God, that you would come in super strong with just a healing, an emotional healing wave tonight. With encouragement for your heart. God, we thank you for everything that you are to us, to our families, to our friends, in our businesses. We thank you that you save us from ourselves. You inside me saves me from the fleshly me that I don't want to be. Like every single day, like I'm dying to that part of myself. I'm letting anything that's just an old version of me, I'm letting it go. So that I can be more and more and more a new me. Created in your image and literally reflecting that on the daily. Like not just created that way, but literally people see it shine out of me. Reflecting it on the daily. God, thank you for your wisdom. Thank you that you are a fresh revelation waiting to happen. I pray this over all of you in Jesus' name. Amen. I will work on the Zoom. I would really love your ideas. I'll start a thread in both of my groups, my breakthrough group, and I will start a thread in my butterfly group. That if you have some strategies that you think that the Lord, maybe you haven't even tried it yet, but you think the Lord is leading you to try, maybe a new type of system for follow-up, or a new type of reaching out, or maybe even something that you used to dread big time, but you want God to whisper on it, that you want God to breathe on it. Let's share some ideas. I know everybody's ideal week is going to look different, but I think that we can come up with a Zoom where we just work on those things. You guys up for that? I'll plan it to where it happens soon. And I will expect feedback from you guys. That way we can come up some really good ideas. Okay, you guys have a great night. Thanks for jumping on the call tonight. I'll get it loaded and probably tomorrow.
Good night.
Night, guys. Thanks a bunch. Night.
Night. Thanks, Lily.
Night.